Okay, so this is half past paper week 4, a little bit shorter this week. We only had 34 marks this week because we had 46 marks last week. And as you know, the odd numbers and the even numbers make the whole paper. So this is the other half of the paper that we did in week 3. And as always, you've got the Sparks codes there and all of the topics for each of the questions. Okay, question number 2, find the lowest common multiple of 40 and 56. So whenever we're finding the highest common factor or the lowest common multiple, I like to do the Venn diagrams for each. So 40 is 4 times 10, 4 is 2 times 2, and 10 is 2 times 5. This is the prime factorisation that we're doing here. So 40 is 2 times 2 times 2 times 5. And for 56, it is 7 times 8. And 8 is 2 times 4, and 4 is 2 times 2. You can also use the fact button on your calculator if you just want to get straight to that answer. And then we're going to put that in a Venn diagram. This circle is going to be for 56, and this circle is going to be for 40. So in the middle, I can put a 2, and a 2, because they all have 3 2s. And then I've got the 7 left over on this side, and the 5 left over on this side. Now, if I asked you for the highest common factor, it would just be all of the numbers in the middle multiplied together. So 2 times 2 times 2. So if I'd asked you for the highest common factor, you could tell me that that was 8. If you want the lowest common multiple, we're going to take that 8 and multiply it by any numbers that are left on the outside. So I'm going to do 8 times 5 times 7, which is 40 times 7, which is 280. So 280 is the first number that's in the 40 times table and the 56 times table. For part B, we need to write down the highest common factor of A and B. Now this looks tricky, but actually what they've done is they've done the hard work for us. All I need to do is put this in a Venn diagram and see what can go in the middle, and that's where I'll find my highest common factor. Now you might find it helpful to write this out fully. So 2 times 2 times 2 is 2 cubed, times 3 times 5. And for B over here, I've got 2 times 2 times 3 times 5 times 5. You just might find that more helpful for when you're trying to look what's in both. So they both have a 2, they both have another 2, they both have a 3, and they both have a 5. So that can go in the middle. 2, 2, 3, 5. I've got a 2 left over here and a 5 left over here. If I want the highest common factor, remember that's all the numbers in the intersection being multiplied together. So I'm going to do 2 times 2 times 3 times 5, which is 4, times 3, which is 12, times that by 5, it gives me an answer of 60. And that would be my highest common factor. Question number 4. Raya buys a van for £8,500 plus VAT at 20%. So let's do that first. 8,500. If I want 10%, that would be 850. Remember, to get 10%, we divide by 10. And so 20% is double that, 850 times by 2, which is 1,700. So the total cost of the van is 8,500, add VAT, which is 1,700. Oh, type that wrong on my calculator, sorry. 8,500 add 1,700, which is £10,200 is the total cost of the van. She pays a deposit for the van, so that's an amount of money that you pay up front on the day that you say, yes, I'm going to buy it. Here's a little bit of money just to make sure that you know I'm telling the truth about that. And then the rest of any money that you owe, she's paying in equal instalments, 12 equal payments of £531.25 each month. Find the ratio of the deposit to the total of the 12 equal payments. So we know the monthly payments, so we can work out the 12 monthly payments in total. That's okay. So if she's doing 12 months of £531.25, I'm going to do 12 times £531.25. So working that out, I find out that over those 12 months, she's going to pay £6,375 in total for the 12 monthly payments. That means the rest of the money that's missing must have been the money she put down on that first day, the deposit. So the difference, 10,200, take away 6,375, that's going to be how much she must have paid as the deposit. So 10,200 minus 6,375, that is 3,825. So if we want now, as a ratio, the deposit, 3,825, to the total of the 12 monthly payments, 6,375, that's this, then we now need to simplify that. So we can simplify it by thinking, okay, what times table are they both in? We could divide both by 5, we could divide both by 25, looking at the end of those numbers, okay? And we could do that and we could just keep going until we can't simplify anymore. However, I do have a little bit of a hack for you. Your calculator can simplify fractions. It can't simplify ratio. Now, this technically is mathematically very wrong what I'm about to do, because if I was writing this as a fraction, I'd need to write it out of 10,200. But that's not going to help me simplify it. My calculator will simplify this. If I write this in my fraction, if I write this in my calculator as a fraction, which is mathematically awful and very incorrect, but my calculator can simplify fractions, and that tells me that it's 3/5, which means the ratio I know would simplify to be 3:5. That is wrong. This has nothing to do with this. It's just helped me to simplify. So to do it, you could just keep dividing both sides by 5, divide by 25, whatever it is. But that's just helped me to spot that it can be simplified all the way down to 3:5. So that would be your final answer for that one. Question number 6. A force of 70 newtons acts on an area of 20 centimetres squared. The force is increased by 10 newtons and the area is increased by 10 centimetres squared. Helen said the pressure decreases by less than 20%. Is Helen correct? So a force of 70 newtons acts on an area of 20. So the pressure in that case, 70 divided by 20, is going to be 3.5. And that's measured in newtons per centimetres squared, because I did newtons up here divided by centimetres squared. So my units here is newtons per centimetre squared. Then it says the force is increased by 10. So that's gone up to 80. I'm going to call this P1 and call this one P2. Gone up to 80. And it says the area is increased by 10. So 80 over 30. 80 newtons divided by 30 centimetres squared. 80 divided by 30 in my calculator is going to give me 2.6 recurring newtons per centimetre squared. Now I've got to know, has that gone down by less than 20%? So you could work out 20% of this, take it off and see if it is above or below 2.6 recurring. Or you can do the change over original. The original will be 3.5 times by 100. I'm just going to work out 20% of 3.5. So 10% would be 0.35. 20% would be 0.7, because it would be double that. And if you do 3.5, take away 0.7, that would be 2.8. So it says the pressure decreases by less than 20%. So I would say no, Helen's wrong, because 20% would get us down to 2.8. It's gone down more than that. So Helen is wrong. Helen is incorrect. It decreases by more than 20%. So always make sure you're backing up your answer with some reasoning and some maths, I guess. Okay, question number 8. 60 people were asked if they prefer to go on holiday in Britain or in Spain or in Italy. 38 of the people were male. 11 of the 32 people who said Britain were female. 8 males said Italy. Right, before we do this is giving me two vibes to this question. It's either going to be a two-way table where you've got Britain, Spain, Italy going across the top. And we know it's going to be that if there's no overlap. Or it might be a Venn diagram question where you've got Britain, Spain and Italy. Now, that it would be a Venn diagram type question if you had people going to both Britain and Spain, and then therefore they'd need to go in the middle. So if there's no overlap, we're going to lay this out as a two-way table. And if there's overlap, then we're going to lay it out in a Venn diagram. But this one, they're either going, or they either prefer to go to Britain or Spain or Italy. So I'm going to lay this out as a two-way table. I'm going to draw it again, but just a little bit bigger and clearer. So also, there's males or females here. So we've got two different sets of data. Britain, Spain and Italy. And don't forget a column for the total. And then male or female, and again, the total down there. Okay, just going to do some extra lines. Lovely. 60 people were asked. So we know the total number of people is 60. 38 of the people were male, so I'm going to go all the way to the end of the male row, and that's 38, which means that we know the rest of the people that were asked, which would be 22, were female. So I'm going to go ahead and fill that in. 11 of the 32 people who said Britain, so 32 people said Britain, and 11 of them were female, which means that the rest of them, 21, must have been male, because we know that the males and the females needs to add up to make 32. 8 males said Italy, so we can put those 8 there, and 12 people said Spain, so that goes down at the total there. One of the females is chosen at random. What's the probability that that female said Spain? Okay, so now we just need to work out all the missing numbers. I know that these 3 numbers need to add up to make 38. I've got 29 so far, so I must have another 9 here. 9 add what to make 12? Well, that needs to be a 3, so that it adds to make 12. And then looking at the bottom here, also these 3 numbers need to add to make 60. So I've got 32 add 12, which is 44. So I'm missing another 16 here, which means that there are 8 people here. And let's just double check. 8 add 3 add 11 does also make 22. So everything works in all the directions, and I'm really happy with that. What is the probability that the female said Spain? So we're only picking from the females. So this probability is going to be out of 22, because there's only 22 people I can pick from. So we're picking one of the females at random. So out of 22, how many of them said Spain? What's the probability this female said Spain? Well, 3 of them said Spain out of 22. So that would be my answer. Some people would write 22 out of 60. That's the probability of picking a female. Some people would write 3 out of 60. That's the probability of picking a female that said Spain out of everyone. But you're not picking out of everyone. You're only picking from one of the females. So there we go. 3 out of 22. Question number 10. The vector A and the vector B are shown on the grid. On the grid, draw the label vector minus 2a. Draw and label vector minus 2a. So the vector A, we can see from the arrow here, goes 1 to the right and 2 up. That's what that vector does. It is an instruction. It goes 1 right and 2 up. So if I want to do 2a, I would have to double that instruction and go twice as far, but in the same direction. So I'd be going 2 across and 4 up, and that would be the vector 2a. However, they're asking you to do minus 2a, and that means you need to go in the opposite direction as well. So minus 2a, instead of going 2 right and 4 up, is going to go 2 left and 4 down. It's going to be the same, but going in the opposite direction. That is minus 2a. You can draw it any way you like. You could have drawn it over here. As long as it is going 2 left and 4 down, that would be absolutely fine. Then it says work out a plus 2b as a column vector. So the vector a is 1 to the right and 2 up. And the vector b is 1 right and 3 down. But I want 2 of them. So 1 right and 3 down. 1 right, 2 up. 1 right, 3 down. Yeah, lovely. So then I've just got to work that all out. These are not fractions, so we don't need the same denominators. So it's just going to be 1, 2, add, let me do it intermediate step for you, 2 minus 6. Because I'm just timesing that by 2, timesing that by 2. So that means we're in total going 3 to the right, because we've got 1 add 2. And then 2 add minus 6 is minus 4. Great. Question number 12. And we've got some graphs. The graphs of y against x represent 4 different types of proportionality. Match each type of proportionality in the table to the correct graph. So this one just means y is proportional to x. So that means as x gets bigger, y gets bigger. So that one, if you imagine 1 chocolate bar costs 50p, 2 chocolate bars costs £1, 3 chocolate bars is £1.50. It's just going to make a straight line. So that one goes with B. If y is directly proportional to x squared, the relationship is between y and x squared. So we're looking for the graph here that could be part of a quadratic graph. So we could be thinking about 0 with 0, 1 squared is 1, 2 squared is 4, 3 squared is 9, things like that. So we're looking, actually that one's going to be D. For y is proportional to the square root of x, The pair of numbers are actually both going to be going up, okay? These are still directly proportional, but it's not going to be going up as quickly as the squaring. It's going to be going up slowly, and that's going to be A. That's the graph of root x. And then last but not least, this one is inversely proportion. And when we have inverse proportion, it looks like this, where it comes down. As one gets bigger, the other one gets smaller. And that last one is inverse proportion. Quite tricky, those. You just kind of got to learn them and see what they look like. Get used to them. Okay, question number 14. The distance time graph shows information about part of a car journey. We've got the distance travelled on the y-axis, and we've got the time taken on the x-axis. Use the graph to estimate the speed of the car at time 5 seconds. Well, we don't have speed on this graph, but we know that speed is distance divided by time, which in this case is rise over run. So hopefully it makes sense that this is actually the gradient. But we need to know the gradient at exactly this point. And to do that, we're going to draw a tangent. So I'm going to get a line and get your ruler. Right, I'm going to have to do this by moving it. So you want to just touch the curve and carry on. And then you're going to make it into a triangle so that you can do the gradient. Now, I've probably not done that very well. You could probably pick better numbers. But we have got a calculator, so that's okay. So this has gone from 3.4 across to 6.8. So 3.4 across to 6.8 is 3.4 across, and then going up, I've gone from, what are we going up in here? 4s. So I've gone from 8 up to 48, let's say. So I've gone 40 up. So my rise over run, my gradient here is going to be 40 divided by 3.4. This is a calculator paper. You might get a slightly different answer, and a range of answers would be acceptable here, but ultimately you need to draw a tangent, which is a line that just touches the curve, and it's going to just touch it at 5. And then you're going to turn it into a triangle and do whatever it's going up in divided by whatever it's going across in. I get 11.764. So I'm just going to put 11.8 on the answer line. But there would be a range of answers available, and I'll pop the mark scheme up so you can see if you're in range. Okay, question 16. On the grid, draw the graph x squared add y squared is 12.25. This is actually the equation of a circle. So x squared add y squared equals the radius squared is the equation of a circle. Whenever you see x squared add y squared, you know that this is going to be a circle. So what I need to do to get the radius of a circle is actually just square root that number. So in my calculator, I'm typing the square root of 12.25, and that is 3.5. Now, for the purpose of GCSE, you're only ever going to see circles centred at the origin. And I know that it's going to go up to 3.5, which is here, out to 3.5, which is here, down to minus 3.5, which is here, and across to minus 3.5, which is here. And you're going to make that into a really nice circle using your compass. I don't have the luxury of that on my iPad. Do I have a circle? That'll do. There we go. It's slightly bold, so it's a bit hard to tell, but that's what it should look like. It should touch at 3.5, 3.5, minus 3.5, and minus 3.5, and that would be your circle. And it says, hence find estimates for the solutions of the simultaneous equations. Now, simultaneous equations, I'm still on a circle. Simultaneous equations are when two graphs cross each other. So I've already got this one on the graph. Now let's just draw this line here. And you might be thinking, well, how do I draw that? Let's make it in the form y equals mx plus c, so I can see what the gradient is and what the y-intercept is. This one is a straight line. There's no powers here. It's just linear. So y equals, if I take 2x away from both sides, y equals minus 2x, add 1. So that's going to be the straight line with a y-intercept of 1. And for every 1 across, it's going to go 2 down. This has a gradient of minus 2. So 1 across and 2 down is here. 1 across and 2 down. 1 across and 2 down. 1 across and 2 down. And then if we go 1 back, it's going to go 2 up. 1 back, 2 up, and so on. Just get your ruler and join that up. And then we're just looking where those two things cross. So we're looking at this and we're looking at this for our solutions. I really shouldn't have done it so bold, should I? So I'm then going to write x1 and y1. And I'm going to write x2 and y2. So x1 and y1, I'm going to look at this coordinate up here. And x is going to be minus 1.2 because we're coming across to here. And y is going to be 3.4, I'm going to say. So minus 1.2, 3.4. And for the other coordinate, x is, or let's say 2. And I don't think this is why I don't think my drawing is very good. 2 and minus 3. Let's go 2 and minus 3. Again, I'll pop the mark scheme up so you've got the exact values, but that is how you would do it. Fabulous. Question number 18. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H is a cuboid. A to B is 7.3. I'm going to draw that on. C to H is 8.1. And angle BCA, so B to C to A, the angle that's made there, is 48 degrees. Find the size of the angle between AH and the plane. So A to H is going up like that, and the plane. So this is the angle that we're interested in. I'm going to make that into a right angled triangle standing up, going diagonally through. Okay, so first things first, it'd be really helpful if I could get the length of this side here. And at the minute, I don't know it. But I do know, if you imagine looking down into this cube from above, you would see a right angled triangle on the floor. This is A, this is B, and this is C. I'm looking down on this from above, and I know that this is 48 because I was told that, and I know that this is 7.3 because I was told that as well. Now I can work out the length of this side using SOHCAHTOA. So I've got SO, CA, and TOA. It's a right angled triangle. That's how I know I can use it. I want the hypotenuse. That's that side there. I've got the opposite. That's that side there. And I don't know the adjacent and I don't want to know it. So that's not very helpful to me in this question. So O and H is going to be SO. I want the hypotenuse. So let's cover that up and do the sum that's left behind. So that is 7.3 divided by sine 48. Because you've got O on the top, which is the opposite, and S on the bottom, which is sine 48. So using my calculator, 7.3 divided by sine 48 is 9.82311. And I'm not going to round that just yet because I think I might need to go on and use that again in a minute. So that side there, 9.82311. Now I want this angle here. And I now, if you imagine just looking at this stood up right angled triangle, I want this angle. This is A. This is C. We're going diagonally across the shape here. And I know the height is 8.1 going up to H. We've just worked out that this side here is 9.82311. And I want the angle. So again, I've got a right angled triangle. I want the angle. I've got the opposite and I've got the adjacent. I don't know the hypotenuse and I don't care about it. So O and A is going to be TOA. But this time we want the angle. So I'm going to do tan to the minus 1. Remember, you're always doing to the minus 1 when you want the angle. And covering up that T, it's O divided by A. So 8.1 divided by, I'm going to put answer because I've still got it in my calculator and I just want to keep it as accurate as possible. So shift tan to get tan to the minus 1. Hit your fraction button, or you can use divide. 8.1 on the top and answer on the bottom. Shutting my bracket. And that gives me an angle of 39.508. So to one decimal place, 39.5 degrees. There we go. Okay, question number 20. This is actually the last question on this paper. Martin did this question. Rationalise the denominator of 14 over 2 add root 3. So rationalise means to get rid of any surds, any square roots from the bottom of the fraction. So we can't leave that root 3 there. Normally, we just times by another root 3, and if we times the bottom, we also times by the top. But that doesn't work here, because if I times the bottom by root 3, yeah, the root 3 times root 3 would become root 9, which is 3, and would go, but you'd have to do 2 lots of root 3, and so you'd still end up with a root on the bottom, so that's no good. If you have 2 terms on the bottom, you multiply by the same thing, but the opposite sign, and that's called the conjugate. So if you've got 2 add root 3 on the bottom, you would times by 2 minus root 3. And it looks like he's done that. So on the top, that's correct. I'm happy with that. And on the bottom, that's correct. He's times by that. Now, when he's times out here, he's got 28 minus 14 root 3. I'm happy with that. And then on the denominator, we've got 4 minus 2 root 3 plus 2 root 3 minus 3. There we go, there's the error. So here, this is plus root 3 times minus root 3, and root 3 times root 3 is root 9, which is 3, but we've got a negative, so that should be minus 3. That's where he's gone wrong. So it says find Martin's mistake. The plus 3 on the denominator should be minus 3. That's his error. Sian did this question, rationalise the denominator. So ignore mine. Mine's formatted slightly funny that you should have multiplications there. Here is how she answered the question. So she's multiplied the top and the bottom by root 12, which is exactly what we would want her to do. So we've times the top by root 12, we've times the bottom by root 12, and that is 5 root 12 over 12. Great. She's then simplified root 12 by finding a square number that goes into it, and a square number that goes into 12 is 4. So I'm going to rewrite that as root 4 times root 3, which is 2 root 3. So she's said that that is 3 root 2, when actually it should be 2 root 3. So root 12 is 2 root 3, not 3 root 2. And if you find that challenging, that is simplifying surds and rationalising surds, but that is the last question on our paper, so that should be your grade 8-9 question. So if you did find that difficult, don't worry too much, that is the end of the paper. I hope you found it helpful, and I'll see you next week.